All right, welcome back to another episode of More Than a Mortgage, where we help people build wealth through real estate and beyond. And I'm Mike Black.
I'm Tom Merritt.
And we're talking today about a topic that is one of the biggest mistakes that home buyers make. And believe it or not, it has nothing to do with interest rates.
Finances.
It has nothing to do with their credit score. It really evolves around, selecting. It goes beyond the realtor itself, but like selecting the right team, the right agent to represent you. And I guess I'll start off by why we even thought about talking about this is that we see it too often, right? It's like I had a client that we're working with right now that, called me yesterday and said I'd uploaded my documents last night, and we've got best and final on a multiple offer coming up at noon on Monday morning or Monday afternoon. And so lo and behold, we had talked earlier on in the process, and I asked him who he's working with who his real estate agent was, and he said a friend of my fiance, and I
think it was a husband of the fiance's wife.
Yes, exactly. It was a friend of it. It was the husband of his wife's friend. So anyway, long story short, I looked up the agent, and he had very little experience on the buy side, and I was like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Are you sure you want to do that? Because this is you're in the suburbs. This is going to be a tough market. You want to have an agent that really knows the market really well and knows how to navigate through that." And so, long story short, he came back to me yesterday, and I said, "Can I talk to your realtor and give him a call?" And I did, and I told him, "You're going to have to go 10 to 15% over list price to win this deal." It was listed at $725. And so I talked to the agent before the offer went out, and I said, "What'd you guys decide on the list price or the offer that you're going to make?" And he said, "Well, can you update the pre-approval for me to $726?
Ooh, $1,000 over a list in this market. That's watch out.
And I'm like, are you sure? And he goes, "You know what? Actually, show it $750. We're going to go in at $726 though." And I go, "Well, we're not going to win this deal. It's just not going to happen." And he goes, "Well, that's up to them."
Yeah, I mean, it blows my mind away. People spend all this time saving, planning, preparing, getting everything ready for what is more than likely the biggest purchase of their life. And then 30 seconds choosing the person that's going to represent them in that. Don't take time to look to see what and how many purchases they've done, how long they've been in the business. It happens to be a friend of a friend. And so guess what? That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I texted this morning, and I already knew the answer. I mean, it showed up contingent first thing this morning, and they didn't win. So, it's one of those things where, look, I'm not telling you to not use your friend, because your friend might be really good, or your cousin or someone along those lines, but you got to do a little more digging up front with the people that you're working with. Because it can make or break your entire process and experience, right?
And I want to be clear on that. We're not just talking about the real estate agent, right? In this instance, in your story, it is. But whether that's the lender, I was talking to a client yesterday, and they decided to work with a lender who's closed 4 loans over the course of the last 12 months. I see it time and time again where they work with attorneys who aren't even real estate attorneys and don't really have anything to do. They happen to be an attorney, but again, you need the right team if you want to not only be successful with obtaining the purchase, or obviously the goal, which is purchasing, but also getting you to the finish line in a equitable manner.
Yeah, it used to be you could get away with it, right?
Well, yeah, that was back when the market was lots of inventory.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter. You went in, $5,000 or 5% below list. You negotiated, it met somewhere in the middle. But gone are those days. I mean, it's not even close.
Yeah, properties move fast. The inventory is light. There's, you've got multiple offers going on everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean, it's you really honestly have to have someone that knows what they're doing.
Knows the market, is good at reading and reacting, can
good
value
negotiator.
a property. Great negotiator. Can't just be
good
good.
Strategist.
I say psychologists too. They
Yeah.
need to be able to work, with the borrowers or
There's
the
a
purchasers.
lot of buyer fatigue out there, so it's keeping your buyers and your sellers like on the up and up on what to do here. Look, it could be the decision that costs you a lot more money than you should have paid. Like you had an example not too long ago where we know about a deal that you and I were both involved with, and we were like the agent I was working with was adamant about this place not going over, like it's not going to be worth more than 1.1, right? And the client offered 1.25, so they were from what he said, $150,000 over list price, and lo and behold, it came in on I think around 1.15.
Yeah.
So again, like that could cost you money. It could cost you time, and it could put you in a bad spot, because what you have to do to win nowadays is you pretty much not have any sort of contingencies tied to that deal.
And that's the thing, right? That you need to have professionals working with you that are going to be able to advise you at what to do, but what not to do, so that you can accomplish what the goal is. So whether that's waiving certain contingencies, going to a certain price point, understanding the market, understanding the competition, understanding what the sellers want, right? Like, do they want to close in 60 days, or do they want to close in 21 days? What is and how do you structure it? And again, no offense, but kind of offense. If you're a part-time real estate agent, you're a part-time lender, which signifies less than 12 deals in a year. If you're a attorney who focuses on personal injury, like you're not the right qualified person to help people get to the finish line in this type of a market. It just doesn't work. You're going to get burned.
Yeah, and I think the number one, that's one big one you got to look out for, the part-time agent. How do you determine that? Like, what kind of questions do you need to be asking up front to find out if this is like their full-time job, or if this is like something they're doing part-time?
Well, I mean, I think first and foremost, if it's your buddy's friend who just happens to be dabbling it on the side, probably not a good choice in this instance.
Yeah.
But you ask, how many people have you worked with this year? How many, what's give me a little bit of background just with regards to what you've been working on, what you're seeing out there, the market you're working in.
Yeah. Yeah. So ask better questions up front.
Absolutely. Interview.
And the other side of that too is, ask your lender, because a lot of times, and I'm not saying all these like lookup sites are like 100% accurate, but it gives you a pretty good snapshot. I mean, I look up my information, my numbers, and it's not far off. Like it's in the ballpark, right?
You know that you do this as a full-time job. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And you support people.
Yeah.
Your family.
Yeah, exactly. So look, here's the reality of it. The more deals you see, the better you are, right? And that goes for winning and losing. So, if you've got someone like you just said that had did 4 loans in the last 12 months, they probably haven't seen a whole lot. And there's been a lot of changes in our industry when it comes to guidelines and insurance requirements and condos that we lend in all day long. That's important.
100%.
That's important. What do we call that in our branch? Like landmine city. Like, you don't want to have like the landmines planted all around your transaction. You want to diffuse all that up front, and it really just starts like with the team that you're working with.
We've preached that before, though. I mean, again, it all comes down to the team you're working with and making sure they all interact together, making sure they're a good fit. But in this today, what we're talking about is making sure they have the experience and they know not only the market, but their craft to help you, again, get the best options for you.
So the other side of that too is that, the best offers that I see going out right now from experienced agents are the ones that tie that all in. It's creating that trust factor with your team, right? So no one wants a bad inspector walking into their property.
No.
Right? So it's my inspector. The agent has my inspector. The agent has my attorney. The agent has my lender. We're going to make this as easy as possible for your seller. And I think part of the problem when it comes to like the cousin that just got their license, or the friend of the friend that does this part-time, is that this isn't their primary focus necessarily, and they don't have those pieces tight. They're very loosey-goosey. They'll let you, the buyer, go out there and choose all that on your own. Not all the times, But, you know, I've seen it happen where all of a sudden you're working with an attorney out in the suburbs, like you said, it's primarily a litigation attorney, but they're going to step in and it's a relative and they're going to do it at a discount and help you. And then all of a sudden the deal falls apart during attorney review because they don't understand.
Right. I think you brought up another good point with respect to, we talked about friends or friends of friends being the referral source, the people that they work with. But the other side of it too is the cheapest. And so again, you said the attorney working at a discount. Well, the agent working on a discount, the lender, you know, the online lender that's going to have, you know, 0.25% better interest rate. Like, so what's most important to you?
Yeah.
Is it that, or is it getting in that house? Because I tell you what, there's a huge difference between the online lender, the part-time attorney, and the agent who's a flat fee, and your ability to obtain the home versus your ability, you know, to get it. And maybe it's a little bit more expensive, but again, what do you want? What's most important?
Yeah. I mean, and this market doesn't wait.
No, this market doesn't care.
If something goes on Thursday, it is most likely gone that weekend, right? So
if not before.
So, I mean, you know, you have to move quick. You have to be prepared. You have to have all the planning done. And, you know, I just met with an agent here in my office the other day, and one of the things we talked about was that planning phase up front is one of the biggest reasons you land deals. Like, it has nothing, like, I think there's this misconception that, you know, agents just open doors.
Yeah. No.
And that's not, yeah, while they do that.
That might have been 5 years ago when there was a different inventory, but that's not the case now.
Yeah, agents do a lot more than, like, the seasoned agents, the ones that are getting deals done right now, they do a lot more for their clients than just open doors. They sit down with them. They talk about expectations up front. They talk about what this is going to look like. They talk about getting prepared and comfortable, like we've talked about before, with the uncomfortable. And they really do a deep dive with the buyers to make sure they're not like wasting their time taking someone out, and they're ready for it. Because if you're not mentally prepared for it, you got problems. You got some things going on that are going to come up.
It's going to be a shock.
It's going to be a shock when you get out there.
You're going to be surprised, and you may have to go through 2, 3, 4, 5 times before you're even going to get any traction, because you're not necessarily going to know what that market is. And, you know, you talk about the agent and sitting down and preparing the client and getting things ready. It's not just the agent, though. It's the lender. I mean, I think it's super important personally. So my question is how many times do you talk to the client from start to finish before they've even gone under contract?
Yeah.
I mean, there's preparation, and then there's actual, you know, I know you talk on the weekends with your clients. I know that there are conference calls with the agent putting together the structure of the deal, making sure the clients understand what it means in terms of what does this appraisal waiver mean, and what are the ramifications with respect to if it comes in short. What does that do to you? What are the monthly obligations look like if we go 50 grand over list, and so on and so forth. These are things that you prepare. And if you're not having these conversations with your lender and your real estate agent before you're making the offer, then you're already setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. And another thing I see a lot, and when there's no preparation behind it, is not knowing, like, you got to know what your limits look like. Like, for instance, you know, if someone says, I'm looking at properties between 600,000 and 800,000, and they haven't had a planning session where they've sat down with both the realtor to talk through that and the lender's not communicating that range perfectly for them, what's happening is that they get a pre-approval, the agent gets a pre-approval, and it's usually for the max for 800,000. But what ends up happening is that's where they start looking.
$799.
Yeah, or even like $750, and you got to go to $850 to win it. And $850 might be uncomfortable from a payment standpoint for your client. So I promise you that $800,000 list price property looks a lot better than the $600,000 price property. So when you don't get that and you realize that you need to go starting to look at $700,000 places, there's not much out there that you're going to like. Yeah, especially when you start at the high end.
Yeah.
Knowing that an 800 is going to have to probably go for 900, right? So you have to have that planning phase. It's important. A good seasoned agent is going to have a very tight we call it buyer consultation. A good lender is going to have a buyer consultation. And when those two things come together, I think that's where the magic happens. So we talked about part-time agents. I'm not saying they're all bad.
No.
You know, they some of them are good, but like in most cases, you'll find that they're doing another job to supplement their income because they're just not that busy. We talked about the cousin or the friend,
Family
or the
friend.
friend of the friend. And, you know, what I always like to say about that is if you're going to do that, make sure they're a seasoned agent that knows what they're doing, because if you really like that friendship, or you really want that family member to be part of the family reunions, when you go to the family reunions, things could blow up fast and that relationship could be severed. Another one, number 3, that I think is important to hit on is, do you know the area?
Absolutely.
Like, that's a great question for you to ask your agent. What's your experience?
And lender.
And lender, right? Yeah. You know, if you're in Oklahoma trying to lend in condos in Chicago, like, watch out. But, you know, do you know the area? Like, sometimes, you know, I know agents that are very good in the suburbs and they work primarily in the city. I do.
Well, they may have grown up there, or, you know, they're just the experience they've had over 20 years. That's probably the exception to the rule, but I would agree with you.
Yeah. Do they know the area? Like, if you're just taking a client all over the suburbs and you don't know the suburbs, there's 2 things that happen with that. One, the statistics go by the wayside. Are you putting them in the right side of Hinsdale? Because there is a wrong side, right? Are you putting them in the right side of the suburb? Do you know the school areas really well? Are you putting them in the right school systems that the clients are really interested in? Do you know other agents out there? Because we've talked about time and time again where relationships
mean a lot
and get deals done.
Getting the insight,
right?
Giving maybe a little bit, hey, you know, you're neck and neck, you know, these guys want to close in 30 days, or they don't want to close until the end of summer, or whatever it may be. You get a little insight if you have that relationship.
So how much have you done in that area, or do you know about that area? That's a key component.
And I would say knowing that market.
Knowing that market, right?
Yeah, from the standpoint of, you know, when we look here in the city, in terms of what on average places are going over list, it's different than in the northern suburbs, which is different than the western suburbs, which is different than the south suburbs.
Yeah. And I mean, it almost even goes for like the city. Like, do you know the north side versus the south side?
100%.
Or do you know the taxes in those areas? Like, do you know, like, if someone says, again, you know, I had a client the other day that said, I'm not looking at Oak Park anymore. Do you know Oak Park's one of the most expensive tax rates in the entire Chicagoland area? Do you know that kind of stuff before you start taking them in there? Because the reality of it is time is money for all of us. Like, even the clients, like, you don't want to go burn a bunch of time. Like, there's times you're going to make 10 offers and lose. And what does that come back to?
Time.
It comes back to time. But when you go back
money.
to the very beginning, it's like, you know, are we working with the right person?
Well, and have we established what the goals are and ultimately what we're trying to accomplish? Because really, if you're putting in 10 offers and losing, you know, it happens. Don't get me wrong with the best of them. But, you know, really you should be learning from each step of the way. And really, there's something wrong if you lost 10.
Yeah. Well, and look, you're going to sometimes. It just is what it is. But that's where you talked about the therapist piece comes into play, and keeping that running. If you have the right play and you're running the right play all the time, you're gonna have a higher closing percentage, right?
Absolutely.
So there's another one that I pulled up here that I wanted to bring up is hiring someone without strategy. Like, think about that. Like, you sit down, this is what I envision. Like, there's not much strategy. Is you sit down with an agent and they ask you what your wish list looks like, and they say, okay, got it. You know, we got the 10 most important things to you. How's your Saturday at like 2 p.m. look? I'm going to take you out. I'm going to have a bunch of places I'm going to send to you, and we're going to like identify the ones you really like, and then we're going to go out and look. Is that
I think there's probably a little bit more to it than,
Right.
Than just doing that.
Right.
It's really obviously delving deep into, comfort level, even with payment, what they're prepared to do. We're talking appraisal gaps these days where, places may not be appraising.
What does that mean?
Right? What does it even mean? Exactly.
What does it mean to waive your mortgage contingency? Because chances are you're going to have
well, and is that something that's even on the table?
Yeah.
And that's where the conversation between the lender, the borrower, and the real estate agent needs to happen before you even go out and start looking at properties. Yeah. So we know what the tool belt looks like, so we can pull out the right tools to win the right deals.
Yeah, you've got to have, I think this whole entire market in Chicago, at least, is all built around strategy. And even when it shifts into a buyer's market, which we're not in right now.
No.
But even when it does, there's strategy around that. How do we maximize closing cost credits? How do we take a different angle? That's a different type of strategy, but our strategy now is how do we win the deal? How do we get a home?
Well, and I think that's the purpose of this episode, just from the standpoint to lay out, these aren't things that your traditional buyer is going to know. And, you need to understand there are strategies, there are methods to the madness. There are so many little nuances that you would have no idea in terms of what's going on unless you ask the questions. So are you having the interview with the agent? Are you even asking, is there anything I don't know or I'm not asking that might be pertinent to this decision?
And I think part of the strategy too comes down to, for me, when we're going through this, we talk about tactics and strategies.
Absolutely.
And what I mean by that is that we go through, at least 7 things that will make them stand out. And it could be a combination of, multitude of those 7 things, but we talk about it, and I'm explicit when I tell my clients this. I'm telling you this now so that when you call me and say that your wife has to have this place, what do we have to do? This is the one, we found it. I don't want you guys standing there like a deer in the headlights wondering what's going on. So when you're interviewing your realtor, talk to them about what their strategies look like, their tactics. How are they separating you from the competition? That's important. That's really, really important, because if you don't know that up front, and then all of a sudden you get out there and you're ready to make the offer of your dreams, and boom, we're talking about all this stuff, and you're like, you're going to fall to the ground like in a coddle position.
So, and this is it's hard to weigh it out between the agent and the buyer, but you want the agent that's going to take control, that's going to say, listen, this is what we need to do in order to win this. And too many times I've found agents are afraid to lose clients because they don't tell them what they need to hear. We had told you about this earlier. I had an instance last week where we had borrowers that were going in on a Thursday. There were 2 open houses that weekend, and the buyers went in and said, okay, we definitely like this place, we want it. They offered about 25 less than what their max was. The agent even said, hey, listen, it would be great to be able to cancel these open houses. Well, yeah. That's a clue.
Right.
So this was their first offer, talking with the agent, and the agent's like, yeah, I don't want to push the borrowers. We'll see what happens. Well, guess what? Come Sunday night, there's 4 other offers. They called for best and final, and they went up to what their max was. The thought process is if you would have gone up to your max right off the get-go in this instance and said, here's what it is, but I need you to accept this before the open house, we may have been able to completely avoid the entire best and final offer, and they would have had the property. Now, would it have worked out? Who knows? But those are the types of little things that I think need to be addressed. The agent needs to take control. The buyers need to let them take control. They need to have the trust in them, but it's because of the experience.
Yeah. Once you've done it enough times and you know what it takes to, get your clients roped in.
Yeah.
That's super important. And the agents are the experts, or supposed to be, right? Some of the things that what are elite agents doing right now in your eyes? I know we've touched on some of them.
Yeah.
To keep clients calm, because this is a market where what you don't want to do is you don't want to take people out and show them 50 properties, which is that's a mistake.
That in and of itself,
but you don't even want to show them 10 properties and eat up your Saturday and Sunday, doing so,
or confuse the buyer,
and then all of a sudden you wasted a month and they say, we're just going to renew our lease. That's probably the part that stings the most.
Yeah.
Right. We're just going to renew our lease. This is too frustrating. So how do elite agents keep people calm in your eyes?
I mean, there are many different ways, but I think, and we've talked about this time and time again, it's all about preparation. It's all about that first step and really sitting down. And it's not a 15-minute conversation. This is a good hour, 2-hour conversation about what are your goals? What do you want to do? What's most important? What are you willing to sacrifice? And I don't mean just with the house.
Yeah.
I mean financially as well. Like, are you willing and are you comfortable to go 20% over the list price? Because if in the event you don't have that conversation, and then on Sunday after you go to the open house or you see the property and they call for best and final by 5 p.m. and it's like, I got to make a decision, and the agent says, yeah, well, in order to win this, you're going to need to go 20% over list price, it's kind of a shock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so, well, I need to think about it. Well, guess what? You don't have time to think about it. You either need to make the decision and move forward now, or you're not getting this house. And those are the things that I am seeing are happening in this market, when all it needed to do was at least prepare prior to going out for showings. So at least when you get to that point, you're like, oh yeah, I remember. We talked about this.
Yeah.
I understand it. For this place, I don't think I'm comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable here. Or, you know what? This is the place. I will do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'll find that. I think the biggest thing too is like just keeping calm under pressure.
Yeah.
Act
like you've been there.
I'm a big proponent of people feed off of your energy. So if you've got stressed out, negative energy going on, then your clients are going to feel that. They transfer it. But if you're emotional as an agent, your clients are going to be emotional, right? So you've got to just keep calm under pressure in this market right now. Even us as the lenders, like, it's okay to lose. Like, you're going to lose. It's move on to the next, run the same play, and
learn from it.
Learn from it. And like you said earlier, you might not go 15 or 20% over on that one, but on the next one, it might make sense to do it.
Yep.
Right. Some of the other things I put on here, elite agents, in my opinion, no matter what, we talked about the deal earlier, said, I'm not going over 1.1 on this. They protect the buyers.
Yeah.
So like, that doesn't mean you just put a blindfold on and make an offer. It means you're looking up statistics, you're looking up comps, you're looking up other things
the market
that are driving the price. Because just because a property is listed at $899 doesn't mean that's what it's worth. It's what it's worth if someone's going to pay for it. But you, as a realtor especially, should be able to come back and say, guys, I wouldn't go over X, right? And if I let you do that, I'm not looking out for you necessarily. And maybe I just didn't do my homework up front. I don't know.
Agreed. And that comes back to that expertise, that knowledge of the market, what's going on. I think, and just to little caveat or a little asterisk here, we talk about going 10% over list or 15% over list. Well, it also depends what it's listed at. There are different philosophies and strategies we talked about earlier from the listing side. In some cases, they're going to list under market with the anticipation it's going to drive it up. In other cases, they may be over what it should be in the market.
Yeah.
And so it's not a general rule. It's up to your agent to understand and know the market so that they can price it, plan, and obviously advise you accordingly.
So to add to that is, you can't feel like your agent's just trying to get a deal done.
Yeah.
Like that is like the one thing that I always like have lived and died by, like in this business, is like, I don't like someone's like making me feel like they're just trying to get a deal done. You're a good agent, in my opinion, will walk away. If it doesn't make sense, it'll walk away. They'll walk away. They'll turn around and say, let's slow things down a little bit.
Yeah.
This
isn't worth it.
Yeah. Let's take our time. Let's slow things down. Maybe let's go to your landlord and see if we can get a 6-month lease and put that back in place. And let's just take our time on this, because there's no rushes here.
No.
Right. I know you're feeling the pressure of your lease agreement coming up here soon, but let's work on that piece and get that in a good spot, or at least have a plan B so you guys aren't trapped for another 1 to 2 years.
And circling back, that's part of the strategy and part of the preparation in that initial meeting, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Addressing that up front.
I agree. I also put in here, elite agents work as a team. So
well, I think that's something we've
touched on that already, but I think that's one characteristic that I've found is that the really good ones, they have a good team. There's trust involved, and I just think that's really important. So,
and let's be clear, when you say team, it's not like they have a buyer's agent and a selling agent. It's they've got the lender that they trust and know. They've got the attorney that they trust and know. They've got the inspector. Yep. It's a whole team that's been vetted, and they know that they're going to get you to the common goal.
So I want to wrap up here with a couple of questions that I think are pertinent that every buyer should ask an agent. I love it. This is just what I thought. So one of the ones I wrote down is, how many buyers have you helped recently?
Yeah, and I might even go a little further and define recently, like the last 6 months, the last 3 months,
12 months,
something like that. So
I think 12 months is a good window. Last 12 months is how many buyers have you helped? And the reason that's a good question is because you might be working with someone that just strictly does listings. Like sometimes that happens. Like,
absolutely,
there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I'd rather be a listing agent right now.
Well, right now, but the market's changed, So I think the other thing though is what markets do you usually focus on?
Yeah.
Where's the majority of those? When you ask that question, a great follow-up question is, of those sales or of those buyers you've helped, where has it been?
Yeah.
And how many has it been? Because if it's all centered around River North area and you're looking to move out to Barrington, it's a little bit of a red flag.
Yeah, that's a good. And those are two really good questions to ask lenders too, by the way.
I would agree.
Another one that I had down here is, how do you help buyers win in multiple offers? Like, what are we talked about it earlier, tactics and strategies. How do you help them do that? Like, you're looking for ways to diffuse like the bomb in case there is one there, right?
Or the shock, right?
Yeah.
That 5 o'clock, hey, we're going to need to do this, and you've never even heard what an escalation clause is, or you've never heard of an appraisal gap, and now they bring it up, and we got 10 minutes to make the decision.
Yeah. Another good question that I like is, what's your communication style?
That's a good one.
Are you just a texter? Do you not, like, there's a listing agent out there. He does not want anyone to call him during the process. Anyone. And even if there's a problem, like, just email me. Like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes you got to hop on the phone in this business and like have a real conversation.
A lot quicker, in my opinion. But,
yeah. So we talked about it earlier. This is going. Are you full time?
Yeah. Straight up, right?
Are you full time? How competitive is the current market right now? Like, there's inventory stats and things like that you should just be able to spit out. There's daily stats I'd be looking at. I look at it as a lender, so I would imagine realtors probably look at that on a daily, weekly basis. What lenders do you trust and why? It's a great one.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's, I know a couple realtors that will tell you bluntly why they trust and don't trust certain lenders. That's a really good one to ask. And then, what separates you from other agents? Those are just some good, like, key agents. Like, we've all come to the world nowadays where, like, it is important to know what your value is, right? And if you don't know that, you should.
100%.
You should definitely have a value prop where you're able to communicate why you're different than others. Right?
What sets you apart?
Right. I mean, I like an analogy I heard recently. Like, I could go get a $10 haircut, but I would probably look like Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber, right? Or I could go to my normal, guy and get a $60 haircut. I'm going to pay more because it looks better. Yeah. And I look better when I go to the $60 haircut versus the $10 haircut. And there are $10 haircuts out there, but I dare you to go get one.
Hey, you know what? You drink cheap wine, be prepared for the headache. So
exactly. So, and lastly, just pay attention to the energy when you're meeting with people. It's, I'm very energetic all day long, not because I just naturally like that. And I have a passion for what I do. So, like, just pay attention to that energy. If it's not the energy you're looking for,
if they'd rather be somewhere else, it's probably not the great pick.
Yeah. So I hope this resonates with some of you out there. I know it's hard to figure this stuff out, but don't spend 30 minutes on it. Spend a little time. Make sure you're working with the right team. If you're not sure and you really trust your lender, ask your lender.
Absolutely.
That's a really good one too. If you're not sure and you don't really trust your lender either, go talk to your financial advisor. There's a multitude of ways that you can get in front of people out there, but usually the referrals are the best way.
Within the industry, I would say as well.
Within the industry,
again, the referral to the
but
best friend's sisters.
Don't walk into that listing and say, "Oh, that guy seems like he knows what he's doing." Like,
I'm not saying they
not
don't.
saying they don't. I think it's a good way to meet people, but do a little more research before you make the decision, right?
Don't feel obligated.
So don't feel obligated when your cousin says, "I want to work with you because I just got my license." All right, guys. Well, hey, listen, follow us. We got a lot of good stories we tell on our podcast about live things that we run into on a daily basis. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe. We need more subscribers. I think a lot of you out there like looking at our videos, but like subscribe. We got a lot of good material coming out. Got a really good guest speakers coming up in the next couple of weeks that you won't want to miss. You can also find us on Spotify, Instagram. I'm Mike Black.
I'm Tom Merritt.
We are
More than a mortgage.